Man, that was absolutely crazy. What a wild ride that we had, and many others had, trying to pre-order a Nintendo Switch 2, and even people that are still trying to get it today, at least as of the time that I'm recording this video. It's pretty early in the morning. I know I've had multiple people that were heading out to GameStop to see if they can wait in line to pre-order. My homie Endakuba from the Endakuba channel, he was actually out there and spoke with me during my live stream, but it was 5 hours of awesomeness to where, like, when we got up to the point, I just want to describe some of the feelings that I was going through and the process of the pre-orders and the situation and the craziness that ensued, and some good and some bad. And at first I was feeling pretty good about everything, but then as things kind of went on with the night, I got more and more nervous as I saw that there's going to be like a bazillion people pre-ordering this. This whole drop the price when it comes to the games or whatever, even for some people the system, but mainly the games with Mario Kart, and this whole nobody's gonna buy the system just wasn't correct. And I think that it was somewhat of a psyop or something. I said this on my live stream, man. People were just trying to say that so they can pre-order one easier. I'm like almost 100% sure, I'm 99% sure that people did that on purpose. They were there just to troll. Hopefully they can get one because they saw Mario Kart, they saw Donkey Kong, they saw Metroid, they saw all the different games, like, oh snap, I want all this. They saw Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom running in good frame rates and resolution and with new features, and we're like, I need this. If I just say drop the price and act like nobody should buy it, then I'll be able to pre-order one better. It seemed like that was the case because it seemed like everybody and their mom wanted a Nintendo Switch 2. The pre-orders were wild. When they started up, I would say that the biggest L, I'm going to give my W's for the night, but the biggest L was the Best Buy. What was going on there? I know that they have bot protection, but it was crazy. They didn't start doing the actual pre-orders till like 20 something minutes afterwards. I get it, bot protection, but it was crazy. I got into line as soon as possible, and then all of a sudden waiting in line, sold out. Waiting in line, sold out. For like hours. I think it was like 2+ hours. And then I ultimately could not even secure a system from Best Buy. Luckily, during that, Walmart, out of all the different places, Target, they took a L2. I had it in my cart. I had it on the app. It would not let me secure my payment method. It kept on kicking me out, kept on asking for verification, kept on kicking me out, and then ultimately just said nope for after like 30 minutes to an hour of trying over and over. The unlikely hero for me was Walmart and my brother, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But Walmart was the unlikely hero, where I was able to pick up the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle. So I get Mario Kart in there for $30 off of the physical price. And I was able to pick up a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and a camera with literally no waiting. I was just able to go, put it in my cart, and get it. Now, the Walmart experience was a little nerve-wracking because they're like, hey, we're keeping your spot in line, and then you get 10 minutes to get it, and their bot protection was the best bot protection. Essentially, it made you press and hold the key, and then after you're done pressing and hold the key, it would verify that you are a real person. And of course, if you already have an account, that also helps too. So I was able to purchase it. I couldn't use my credit card for some reason. I had to use PayPal, but I was able to use PayPal, no problem, buy it, at least I think with that one. And I was able to get the Nintendo Switch 2 with the Mario Kart bundle and get what I wanted. I wanted the Pro controller, I wanted the camera. The camera was something that I thought that I was going to use because my brother was very excited about this system and wanting to get it as well. And he lives far away from me, but I think that this is a way that we can finally start playing games again and seeing each other again while playing games like we did back in the day. Obviously, we can't be in the same place because we live far away from each other, but at least we can have the camera and we can voice chat and we can talk and we can do it all through there because he doesn't do Discord. He doesn't do any of the other social media stuff. He doesn't do any of that, but he'll do it through the Nintendo Switch 2. So that was definitely something that I was very excited to pick up so I can be able to voice chat and video chat with my brother while playing different games. Mario Kart, he doesn't like Mario Kart, while playing whatever we're going to play, even if we're playing different games. I think it's going to be great. And you can use it with Nintendo Switch 1 games too, I think, as well. You can just have that voice chat available and all that. So it was fantastic. I was very, very happy about how Walmart handled it. And like I said, the most unlikely hero of tonight was Walmart. Now, luckily, my bro had my backup. He actually was able to get one at Best Buy and Walmart. So I might actually hang out at his place when it comes to the stream, because Walmart, they're going to ship it to me and it's going to be on the day of June 5th, which I think, and I want to be ready to go streaming with the system right there at midnight or near that after you pick it up, I do think that I might head over to my brother's house and visit anyway, because I've been meaning to go over there. So that might be a thing. But either way, it was a range of emotions. It was a crazy night. But from what I understand, I polled a lot of you guys that were on the stream. We had 1,000+ people. I actually polled over 1,300 people if they were actually trying to buy a Nintendo Switch. Were they able to get one? And 75% plus, about 75% or so, actually stated that they were able to get it. That is a pretty good success ratio. The sample size is small with 1,300 people, but it's not like it's only like 100 people or 200 people. I think that you can take that sample size from a channel like mine and say, okay, that might be similar to other people's experience. 70% plus people able to actually get a Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I know that it was significantly less than that with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, but you also have to factor in that those systems were during a chip shortage and during COVID. Nintendo had way more units. They just had way more stock overall, and even constantly through the night, more stock was coming in and then selling out. More stock was coming in, or they were making more available and then selling out, making more available and then selling out. We also had GameStop numbers that were going around with around like maybe 40, 50, 60, up to 80 or more units per a GameStop store. So obviously that was quite a bit if you average it out across all of the GameStop stores. So that was definitely a positive thing to see. And I'm very happy I was actually able to pre-order it. But another thing that I'm very happy about is all the people that hit that subscribe button for the pre-order stream, and everyone who's going to hit that subscribe button now if you're not subscribed. So hit that sub button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. Now, one more thing, or one more note on this whole Nintendo Switch 2 stuff that went down. I know that it was kind of crazy for other people. There are some people that weren't able to get it. There were hundreds on my stream, or at least ones that voted. And I know that there were some others on Twitter that stated that they weren't able to get it. So that's very unfortunate. But once again, I do think that if you look at what happens on Twitter, right, and you look at what happens IRL, I do think that there will be more opportunities for people to pick up the Nintendo Switch 2. There are going to be more people going to GameStop today when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, the time that I'm recording this video, to pick up this system. And I think that the fever and the amount of people that wanted to pre-order, obviously the system is going to start really strong. This is probably going to be Nintendo's best launch ever, and I don't think it's even going to be close. I don't remember what their best launch is, but I'll look it up. But it might have been the Wii. I know that the Wii was pretty popular at launch. I don't know Nintendo knew the system was going to be that popular, the way that it blew up, because the GameCube did not do as well. Same thing with the Nintendo Switch, came up the Nintendo Wii U. So Nintendo didn't have anywhere near as many systems. We went over some of the crazy stuff that was happening in France with FNAC, how they've hit historic numbers when it comes to pre-orders. We saw that there was over 2.2 million that registered intent to buy for the MyNintendo store in Japan, and Nintendo obviously cannot meet 2 million when it comes down to it. To just give you guys a little bit of a idea of how many that is, the PlayStation 2 still holds the record in Japan for the biggest launch with a shade under 1 million. That would be double plus that. You're not going to have units for the rest of the world if you do 2 million in just Japan alone. So they've got a lot of people that want this system, and I do expect it to launch really big. I think that the sustained success is going to come from games like Animal Crossing, 3D Mario, Super Smash Brothers. I think that's all going to help. And Nintendo is going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this system to be successful. So I see it doing really well. But what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to the craziness, the insanity? Was it easy for you to get it? Was it difficult for you to get it? Did you hang out here? Were you over at Jake Randall's stream? Let me know how your experience was with the Nintendo Switch 2, as this is many people's first opportunity really pre-ordering a system like this online with this many people excited and looking forward to it. I mean, just as like a little side note, the Nintendo Switch 1 was so much more muted. After Nintendo's presentation in 2017, they're like, hey, pre-orders are available. And we were like, okay. And like a number of people went over to pre-order. It was not the insanity that we got today, but it does seem like many people were able to pre-order the system. So that's definitely a good thing. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Let's get into the next thing here. We're going to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. We've got a brand new patch notes 1.0.2, and honestly, I haven't ran into any bugs or things that needed to be fixed or anything like that. But Nintendo and Monolith Soft has issued a long list of fixes that are causing some problems for people in this game. From fixing the application crashing during the Scale Flight Affinity missions, to hosting player positions that are all off when joining online missions. There are a ton of things that they fixed up. Maybe you ran into them, maybe you didn't with certain missions or affinity quests. They also fixed some issues with the question marks that were displayed in the fashion gear list, so hopefully that's a bit better if you're having some issues there. But I do want to get into 3 separate things here that are actual functional and additional changes to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. So they added tips that are displayed when opening related tips on some menu screens, such as the class change screen. So that's definitely good because there's a lot of things with Xenoblade Chronicles X when it comes to learning, and having that ability to go right there to the tips, you can read up on exactly what you're looking at does, is definitely a good thing. But there were some issues, so they added that in terms of like the class change screen, for example. So that's very good. Buff and debuff icons are now displayed in online missions. So apparently the buff and debuff icons were not displayed in those. So that's definitely good. You want to know the buff and debuff icons overall because you want to see what's happening. So those were not being displayed. And then there were 2 basic missions with the title Backup Request, and it was difficult to distinguish between them. So the quest names have been split up. So yeah, you definitely don't want to go there and be like, oh wait, didn't I already do that? Oh, wait a minute. Same thing? What's going on here? So that's definitely good. It's a good patch. But I know what you guys are all waiting for. I know what I'm waiting for. Obviously, we're pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch 2. A lot of people are waiting for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for that 60 frames per second patch and Nintendo Switch 2 goodness. And even with that Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, you won't have to completely system-wide button map the controller when it comes down to it, because playing Xenoblade Chronicles X with the standard controls is just not very good, because you want to have arts mapped to the ZL and ZR, and you want to be able to move freely because you have to move around. The default button control scheme, it just doesn't give you that option. You're constantly having to stop moving to select your arts. But by using the button mapping, you can get around that. But if you have the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, they have that extra GL, GR buttons, and you can easily map the D-pad on those instead and still keep everything else intact, which is definitely good, because there are some weird things, especially like with bind and other stuff, if you have to remap the buttons, the way to make it work or play even a lot better. So definitely I'm going to be looking forward to playing that, which is why I'm taking my sweet time with the game, and I'm constantly doing all the side quests because I want to make it to where the single playthrough do everything but still get that on the Nintendo Switch 2. So hopefully I can make it there. I got a little bit over a month now, so hopefully I can make it there just by doing all the different quests and everything. So we will see. But we're going to move on to the next topic here. We got an update from Sega about a new Nintendo Switch 2 launch game. You guys know about Sonic Cross Shadow Generations? Well, yeah, that's coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. But there's some bad things, of course, with the good, and there's the bad. So it is a game key card, and it requires a 24 gigabyte download if you want to get the game key card version. Of course, you can just opt for the Nintendo Switch 2 digital version as well. But this is probably the worst thing about it. If you already own Sonic Cross Shadow Generations on the Nintendo Switch 1, there is no upgrade path to get it on the Nintendo Switch 2. So that's very unfortunate that they didn't give an upgrade path. But we do have some extra details on the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game. The save data can be transferred from the Nintendo Switch 1 version to the Nintendo Switch 2 version, but it cannot be transferred from the Nintendo Switch 2 version to the Nintendo Switch 1 version. So if you want to have your data on the Nintendo Switch 2, that is going to be the final place for it. It's not going to be able to transfer back or anything. So make sure that you're sure if you want to transfer that data over from the Switch 1 version to the Nintendo Switch 2 version. Also, even if you meet the required storage space listed of 24 gigabytes, you still need that for the digital edition of the game. So just keep that in mind. You're going to need that space. So yeah, this is something that I kind of knew was going to come to the Nintendo Switch 2, and if I was going to play it, it was going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2. Having that portable version of the game, having it run at a locked 60 frames or whatever else they want to get it to, having that higher quality was going to be something, because the shadow parts look really good. This is definitely Sega's play on Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and I think they did a solid job with it, especially with the shadow stuff. That stuff looks really fun and really cool to play. So I'm looking forward to probably getting the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game. I just wish there was an upgrade for that from the Nintendo Switch 1 users out there that already purchased the game and want to get the higher quality one. But hey, it is what it is. Sega's done this before with many other games. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to Sonic Cross Shadows Generations, in addition to what's going on with Xenoblade Chronicles X, and of course your experience and my experience with pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.